you can hold it against them if they say anything that, you want to like circle back around.
That's true.
That's right.
Mike is the best though. He's such a natural. He's so good at improv and just going with the flow.
Yep. True story.
Well, and on that note, welcome everybody. We are here for another panel discussion on the Elevate series. And this one is one that's very personal and meaningful to me. It starts with John Vroman and Justin Donald, who are what I consider my Cutco family. Feels like forever ago that I used to sell Cutco cutlery, and that's where I met these two incredible humans. And then John and I started working together. He's an incredible human. He launched a book. He's doing speaking. He has a nonprofit organization called Front Row Foundation that's amazing. And then he popped up this new brand called Front Row Dads. That is something also really meaningful to me on a personal level because my husband is a front row dad. And John, I'm going to let you share more about what Front Row Dads is because you will explain it better than I can. But through these two, I was able to meet with Brad. I met Mike. And it's like everybody that I meet through the Front Row Dads community are just like conscious, intelligent, responsible doers, drivers, good humans. They're giving back in the world. They are incredible husbands and thoughtful fathers. And it's just like, I'm constantly impressed. So no surprise that I knocked on John's door last week and I said, please, can we do a panel of Front Row Dads? Now we're all here together. Guys, thank you for your time. I just want to have a casual conversation talking about what is going on at home in your work lives, in friendships right now, and give some value to those that are watching. I think the best place to start is just doing a quick roundtable. Introduce yourselves, and then we can kind of move into something that's really tangible about how people can move forward right now. So who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
You already said nice things, but the only thing I'll add to that is just I'm married to the beautiful Tatiana, the free spirit who keeps me on my toes. And I've got two boys, a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I'm still learning a lot every single day. And I'm so grateful to the brotherhood that you just mentioned because I have received so many great ideas from the conversations. And truly, that's what it is. It's just a group of people who are willing to have courageous conversations and step into a role that is really important. So guys, so grateful to be here. Mm-hmm. And off to Justin. At least he's right there for me.
Nice. I like that. Good.
All right. That sounds good.
It's like there. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to be here as well. Thanks for the kind words. And obviously this whole group of men and women here, this is just a great group of individuals. So it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm a lifestyle investor. That's kind of what I do for a living. Although, as we all say in the Front Row Dads, I'm a family man first and I'm an entrepreneur second. So I have a wife and a daughter that is 7 years old, and they are just fantastic. We're loving life, finding ways to make things fun, even in this crazy time that we're dealing with right now. But then in the world of professional, Justin, I invest a lot in different deals, whether it be operating companies, real estate. I do some advisory and some consulting. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with that.
Lifestyle investor. Very cool. And Mike,
all right,
you're on the hot seat.
I can't get the video order down, but now I know I'm up. So thanks for having me. Proud Front Row Dad member, as you stated. Also co-founded a mastermind group called GoBundance. And my first sort of business and still my main role is being a part of the Keller Williams family. So just like you guys mentioned, the Cutco family, we've got a pretty strong culture and have a Keller Williams crew. And those two crews have kind of met and came together thanks to GoBundance and Front Row Dads too. And so it's been fun. And I'm most proud of being a father and having a beautiful wife, Lindsay. We co-authored the Miracle Morning for Parents and Families. So how to do the Miracle Morning with your kiddos. And then we most recently started an organization called FamBundance, which is a mastermind group for families. And so we're doing a lot of unique things for families, trips and events and starting to create little mastermind groups for kids and for teenagers, which is kind of cool because they get the ability to get started sooner than we did. And I know I met all of these guys through masterminds, and I can only imagine now that our kids are all friends, what that'll look like in another 20 or 30 years. So I'm glad to be here with these guys.
Oh my gosh, I love you guys so much. The power.
You know what I love is when somebody's talking about their family and like a child walks behind them.
I love it. It's so beautiful.
That's so cool.
Okay, so Brad, share your genius with the world. Who are you? What's going on your side of the table?
Well, once again, Amber, thank you for having me on. It's an honor. What's really cool, just being surrounded by these guys, all ultra successful from a business standpoint, but I actually got to know every single one of them at Front Row Dads. And so just seeing how they showed up as a dad, and I think it started as this dad's retreat, but what we learned is what kind of goes hand in hand with that is being a great spouse as well. And I'm sure you've experienced some of the benefits of that with Jason being part of the group. So anyway, yeah. So from a personal standpoint, which we really try to step with that foot forward in Front Row Dads, married my high school sweetheart, Sarah. This year's 15 years. Hopefully we get to go spend it someplace cool if that actually happens sometime in the near future. So we have 3 kiddos, Braun, who's 9, Nash, who's 8, Nellie, who's 4. So she's currently homeschooling them downstairs. They may make an appearance here before long, who knows? But yeah, that's the personal side. The business side, Advisors Excel is really started in that business very early on. Similar to Mike's businesses is in real estate, ours is in financial services. So we consult financial advisors all across the country. And then also with your help and with John's introduction to you, do this podcast called the Elite Advisor Blueprint. That's for financial advisors out there, and get to have interesting conversations with interesting people. And then you make it all, you and your team make it all look good on the website. So that's that side.
Well, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, you're new to me, Amber Vilhauer here, and my company is NG Enterprises, which stands for No Guts, No Glory. Since 2007, I've launched nearly 1,000 websites. So we're designing high performance experiential websites so that people can experience you when they land on your website. It's like, show me, don't tell me. We are helping authors, speakers, and coaches with online marketing and launching best-selling books as well. On the personal side, I am married to my soulmate. I tell people that I didn't believe in soulmates until I met Jason, and we've been together about 10 years. And I have a little 3-year-old cutie pie son named Clay that is like the whole universe to me. He's amazing. So I'm really excited about this panel in particular because I want to dig into the family side. I want to talk about Front Row Dads, what you guys are doing as the husband, as the dad. How are you holding it all together? I know that for me, balancing my business and all of those responsibilities and pressures, and then coming home and balancing homeschooling for the first time. Yes, even at 3, we are trying to have some sort of a structure, routine around that. That's playful. But it's a lot. So I want to open it up with, how are you coping? How are you handling this? The good and the bad, because I think that people sometimes look to leaders and it just looks like everything's perfect for them. And so people tend to feel less than, and I try to shift the perspective a little bit. So what do you feel? It's open forum. What do you guys feel to share? How are you coping with all of this? What have you learned?
Well, I'll start. I think that there's really a silver lining to anything that happens if you look for it. So it's so easy to look at what is hard or not going well, but there's the flip side of the coin of that. And I can tell you, just from being intentional and putting in quality time, I've been able to really dive deep into the relationships that matter the most to me. So I think, in a typical day in a non-coronavirus, era, I feel like sometimes I'm a little spread too thin with, different relationships and different things I'm trying to do. Whereas right now it's like I'm concentrating all this energy on the people that matter most, my family first, and then, extended family, close friends. And, it's just been really nice and really rewarding. I can't tell you the last time I've had as many, deep conversations on video conference So you're actually looking someone in the eyes as you're speaking. And, you know, and then in that same vein, it's the quality conversations with family. So just instead of just doing activities together, it's actually talking about serious topics. It's about, you know, talking about what this coronavirus actually is, and, you know, what it's helping force the family to do. For us, it's playing a lot more games together, going on a lot more hikes, going on bike rides together, checking out new trails. We're playing cards all the time. I mean, it's really been a lot of fun, and there's just so much good that has come from it. We've turned our garage into a home gym. So for the first time in my life, I have a home that doesn't have a basement. So I got rid of my gym, and I basically bought a whole bunch of other stuff so I could have a home gym. And it's really fun doing workouts, and my daughter wants to be part of it to, you know, kind of model what my wife and I are doing. So, I mean, there's just so much good stuff that's out there if you focus on it.
Yeah, we found this YouTube channel called Cosmic Yoga for Kids. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes, my wife's been doing that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Clay is like, we'll watch the Frozen one or the old McDonald Farm one, and he does yoga. So now every day he's like, Mom, let's do the yoga. It's just, and John, you were doing, wasn't it daily hikes for a period of time? Tell me more about that.
Still doing that. Yeah, 21 trails in 21 days was the goal. And we just, we found the All Trails app, which is amazing. So download that, use that, All Trails. It's like the Yelp for trails. It's incredible. Pictures, ratings, like the whole deal. And we have found the most epic hikes in Austin. Like we thought we knew them all, but we didn't know jack. And this has been incredible. We found the most beautiful caves and remote trails. I mean, literally, my wife must have said a dozen times, like, I can't believe this is 3 miles from our house. You know, she said that. And I think there's a lesson there for all of us, is like, what's within close proximity in your life that you haven't noticed because you're reaching so far. You know, like we want to expand our reach and we want to scale, and yeah, me too. Like, it's good. We want to do that. That's wonderful to expand. You know, I often talk about how big is your backyard? Like, do you see your backyard as just your backyard or your community, or is your backyard the world? Like, what do you care about? But right here at home, you know, in our community, all these beautiful little spots that we've missed because we just haven't been paying attention and haven't been creative enough and exploring enough and forced into that realm. And boy, that's been beautiful. And I want to give props to Justin, because his family game can I say that, is amazing. Like I bow to Justin, because when I think about families that play games, and that's constantly his reading with his kids, you know, all that's so powerful, that we try to model that in our home. So we just started playing The Mind, which I want to make a recommendation for. The Mind. If you haven't, it's a card game where you collectively try to like read each other. You're reading each other's body language. You're trying to put the cards down in order from 1 to 100, but it's funny and you're laughing, and it's great. And it's a good travel game too, because it's just basically like, you know, 2 decks of playing cards, and then, you know, it's fun. But The Mind, check it out.
Oh, okay. Pause. Guys, for those of you listening right now, I need you to do me a favor. I can already tell the direction that this conversation is going to go, because that was powerful, what was just shared so far. So do me a favor, in the bottom right-hand corner of this screen, click the share button. Tell your community that this is happening right now. Even if you're not watching live and this is the replay, like, click the share button, because we are going to really give you some powerful information. I love what you said about how big is your backyard. And, you know, every day, that one of the things that I look forward to the most is I go out into my backyard with Clay, and we look at what new has grown, right? Nothing really crazy, wildly entertaining beyond like, oh my gosh, look at this new green leaf that popped up. Like, this is amazing. And we're giggling and we're in the sunshine, and it just feels so relaxing, and it just feels right to me. I guess that's the word. It feels right. Mike and Brad, what's going on in your world right now? What are you doing with your families?
Go ahead, Mike.
Sure. So, well, you know, I think the coolest part about all of this, because I think we've got to make a choice to find the good in what's happening. And I believe it's there if you look. But for me, I kind of felt like, and I know my kids too, like we felt like we were on overdrive, like activities every day. You know, I was booked solid. Our travel schedule is booked solid. And really, if you think about how much the world has changed in the last year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it's like, holy crap, the world sped up really fast. And I feel like we were all having a hard time keeping up with it. And now I feel like I'm just like pausing and taking a deep breath, and I'm sort of letting myself catch up with myself, right? I'm coming back to myself, and I'm settling into what my life really would be if I wasn't distracted and hustling, and if the world hadn't sped up so quickly. So I'm just enjoying slowing down right now, which is a hard thing for me to do. But then I realized like how much I actually needed it. So, you know, lots of journaling and personal reflection, and just really upping my game. I'm doing the Yale course on well-being, which is free right now. It's an online course, a 10-week course. It's free. And I'm having a call weekly with a group of my mastermind buddies, and we're having a call on that. And then, you know, family wise, you know, because first I'm trying to secure my own oxygen mask. I'm like, what do I need to do more of? More exercising. And I tried to take a lot of things that were more weekly focused and made them daily focused. So that's one shift I started to make. Where it's like, normally I'd check in with my parents once a week at best. Now I'm like checking in once a day. And I'm starting to shift a lot of my weekly rhythms to daily rhythms to stay more in tune. So we used to have like a movie night once a week as a family and a game night once a week. Well, now we play a game and watch a movie almost every day. So it's like going from what were our habits to what are they now. And in some ways, I'm just getting more clear on what's important. And that's the really fun part of it, is getting clear on, you know, what is most important, and just enjoying the simple pleasures now of life. It's been over 3 weeks since I've eaten a meal that was takeout or at another restaurant. So either me or my wife, mainly her, thank God, has been producing amazing meals. So 3 weeks without eating out, I would have thought that would be horrible. And now I'm realizing like, wow, it's way simpler and easier and more connected if we just stay at home and cook together. So just finding a lot of simple pleasures and doing those kind of things. And then I don't have it all figured out. So I, just like John started Front Row Dads because he wanted to become a better father. We started Fambundance so that I could be better for my family and also support my kids, and they'll eventually be teenagers. So we've also just been doing a whole series of programming for families. And the beautiful part about today's environment is I used to try to sell it to people because I wanted them to join a mastermind group. And I was always conflicted because we've got such great information and tools and resources. But during this time, we're really in that sort of generosity economy where it's just like people need it. So let's just give everything we can away right now. And that actually is really a big relief because I'm a generous guy. I love to just give. And now there's no reason not to. And it feels really good that the barrier's sort of been broken. So if anybody's listening out there, anything you want for families that we're doing is available to you at fambundance.com/coronavirus. And so we have weekly calls for teens, weekly calls for kids, and a weekly family call. Every Saturday at 12 Eastern, we're doing a call where Brother James leads families through connecting with each other, meeting another family, and building a plan for the upcoming weeks. So we're doing a lot through
Fambundance. Gosh, that's so cool.
I wanted to slip that in there because it's so good to just give these things away right now. It's fun.
It does feel good. And you shared so many value bombs in that I lost track. I started writing them down. I pulled up the Yale website, and then it's like, wow. So I think I'm actually going to go back and replay some of that, but that's a fantastic resource. I did, and Brad, I want to give you a chance to talk too, but I did want to share my screen super fast to show at least this Yale course that you mentioned, the Science of Wellbeing. But John, what the heck is this? Click and Grow? What? He put it in the chat in Zoom. Tell me more about this. This is amazing.
Well, I got to give credit to my new friend Mike Dillard, who turned me onto this. So he's got a crazy story about trying to build these himself and then pivoting and becoming an investor in this company. But it's amazing. So here's where this started. Was actually my mother-in-law lives with us for a portion of the year. My mother-in-law is from Krasnoyarsk, Siberia. And in Siberia, where she is, they all have, and this is very common, they all live in a city, but they have country homes, like these little tiny country homes where they grow, they're called dachas, and they grow all their own vegetables. Well, my mother-in-law was having a really difficult time being here in Austin, away from her home, away from the dacha, away from the gardens, away from all that. So I thought this would be a great way to bring the dacha into our home. And so, and I underestimated the power of this. The kids look at it every day. They're like breaking off pieces of lettuce and they're like tasting basil and lettuce and they're watching it. It's crazy. It's so cool. So something that grows inside your home that they can be a part of, and it's easy, by the way. It's a super simple system. You plug it in. It's all it's perfect for somebody who likes to kill plants. It's awesome.
Oh my God, I'm so going to order this. Brad, what is going on your end right now? What's happening in your world, the conversations with your family, how you're coping? What's going on?
Yeah, well, my running joke is it's like Groundhog Day. I'm trying to keep track of what day it is.
Totally.
They all kind of blend together at this point. One of my friends actually has behind him, he's like day 22, day 23, like he's on lockdown. But for us, I mean, I think the way I look at this, it's interesting to hear Mike's and Justin and John's perspective. One of my mentors once said, you know, when you're faced with adversity, uncertainty, rather than saying, why me, flip that and say, what does this make possible? And one of the common themes I've heard from all of them is one I've experienced as well. In a very weird sort of way, I feel more connected with people that matter than I ever have. And it's all this noise that we all had with sporting events and travel and conferences and all that literally just disappeared overnight. And now we're here with the people that matter most to us, our immediate families. And like, we did a Zoom happy hour the other day. Justin and I did. We just both popped a nice bottle of wine and just had conversation. And in a lot of the, you know, our busy lives, we wouldn't have had time. We would have meant it. We would have had the intention to do it, but we never actually would have executed on it. So I just find I've got a lot more space right now to really pour in. And working from home, you know, normally I just have time with the kids in the mornings and evenings. Now I can hop down, grab lunch. And now I'm getting so much time back with my kids right now. I'm just like, wow, I just exponentially increased all of this valuable time with them. So I'm just trying to pour into that as much as I can. Not that it hasn't had its challenges. My wife, fortunately, used to be a 5th grade school teacher. So she kind of dusted off the old lesson plans, has kind of put those back into action. But one home with 5 individuals, that there can be times of stress. So I think the other thing that we've tried to do is give each other space. We're trying to reincorporate date nights. So we're going to figure out how we do that. But like, she had a happy hour with her friends the other night. And I was like, I got the kids. She hopped on Zoom and literally enjoyed some wine with a couple girlfriends that she hadn't caught up with in a while. So I think some of these rhythms we have in life where we need to still give ourselves space, even when we don't feel like we have it, are going to be really important the longer that this goes on. So just a few thoughts there.
That's awesome. A couple things come up for me. One is that before all of this changed, something that Jason and I committed to doing this year was an at-home date night once a week. And so what we did is we built it up to this incredible experience for Clay, where he gets to, like, this is your night where you get to watch a show and eat dinner in front of the TV, you know, because he doesn't get to watch a lot of TV. So it's like a really big deal for him. And then he would be in the living room, and then Jason and I would sit at the dining room table and just take a beat, just be together. And it was wonderful. So I look forward to getting back to that. We're still trying to get into a rhythm in some aspects. And I really want to integrate that back. So maybe something like that, Brad. The other thing that came up for me when you were talking, and I open this to all of you, how are you managing distraction? Because I know that there are times when I'm with family, but my mind is like problem solving, so many different things. We have multiple divisions in my company, multiple different clients. They're all doing different things, different team members. And so being responsible for all of that, it's not a small thing, but I also find myself sometimes just wanting to be present, but my mind is going, or I'm a little distracted. So are you feeling that way? And if so, what are you doing to snap back into where you're supposed to be in the moment?
Sounds like you're not yelling loud enough.
Well, that's for sure. I'm not a yeller.
I want to say to that two things. One is I completely relate. I have a giant sign outside that door right now that just starts with, I love you. And if this door is closed, right? Like it's essentially a plea for privacy. And I think it's important. Look, we understand the value of being able to focus. We have people that are relying on us, our teammates, our organizations. We want to deliver there. One thing I will tell you though, Amber, is that, and while I have conversations with Tatiana around boundaries and the kids around boundaries, and we try to understand, and we put the hikes earlier in the day, because I find that if I do the hike early in the day, then the rest of the day is a lot easier with the kids versus trying to make it through the day and then hiking after work.
Oh,
that's like push them off, but like fill them up and then they're good, in some ways. So that's been a shift for us. But also
doing like 8 hikes on the 21st day.
Right. I think another piece for me, Amber, has been shifting the language that I use for myself rather than referring to, and this isn't a poke at what you just said, but like rather than referring to my family in any way, shape, or form as a distraction, is like, I look at it as like my primary work. And if I'm not doing a good job leading that team, then it hurts at work. If I'm not taking the time to set the boundaries or communicate or to fill them up, then they will be knocking a lot more or distracting a lot more or pulling a lot more. So I look at it as like, my primary job is to be a great dad and husband. My primary job is my family, not even my work. Like my work could fail and my life still wins. But if my family fails and my business succeeds, that to me is not winning the game. So if I have to choose to give somebody my attention, I'm actually going to give it to my kids and my wife before I'm going to give it to my clients or my business when I'm being intentional. Now, do I act that way all the time? Definitely not. So I just want to, for clarity, right? Like throw out what I think is ideal and what I try to live by, but is hard to do.
I'd love to even pile on to that. I think that's great stuff, John. And I think that the chaos and the urgency that we often feel in business isn't as maybe crazy as it really is. Like it's not as dire as we sometimes make it. So it's like, oh, but this one thing or this one person, well, whatever. Your business isn't going to burn down most likely because of that. Mm-hmm. And so I think getting really clear on where your priorities are, where are you spending time and filling up the family? Like John said, where are you spending time filling up yourself so that you can be good for whatever comes your way, probably before the day begins, if possible. And then it's prioritizing where in your business world are you going to put most of your energy and effort. So, I mean, the reality is 20% of your results, 20% of your efforts equals 80% of your results. So get real clear on what those whatever the main criteria that you have to uphold and the main things that you need to work on are, and then let everything else fall to the wayside or delegate it out if possible. Or maybe this is a time to start outsourcing if you haven't already done it. But there's probably just a small percentage of things that you do that are going to help you get and maintain the results you're getting. And then if you just got better at doing those few things better, that's how you grow. And so you might actually be able to let a lot of things fall to the wayside while growing your business if you can get intentional enough on it. It's the same thing like with figuring out where you want to spend your time on a personal and social level. One of the things I recently did was I wrote down who's in my inner circle and who I want to be intentional about spending time with. Obviously, my family is like my immediate 1 and 2. But then from there, what does that look like, and who's on that list? And if someone else is reaching out, like, that is a distraction. So is it part of my inner circle, my cabinet, if you will? And then also interrupting my interruptions. So if I know that I'm vulnerable to text messages or chats or whatever that distract me, well, then I'm going to silence those so that way I don't get distracted. Like, I'm going to know my vulnerability, and then I'm going to interrupt what would otherwise be an interruption.
Gosh, there was so much there that I felt compelled to respond to. One, it reminded me that last Friday was an example where I just felt like there was just so much coming at me. And one of the things that I did is I just took a breath, and I realized that, I don't have to, I can choose my response here. So what I ended up doing was I sent an audio message to my whole team, 15 people. And I said, hey guys, I just want to be really open and honest with you right now that I'm feeling very overwhelmed by the amount of questions that you're asking me today and the things that you need from me. And it's not productive at this point. So what I'm going to ask is that you limit the questions that you have. If it is, an emergency or something urgent, I want to know immediately, of course. But if it is not emergent, please just send me one email at the end of the day with all of the questions that you have in one nice summary, and I will get back to you. And I believe that will help me to be more calm, or whatever I said. And I felt so ridiculous having to do that. But guess what? The notifications stopped. And I felt at peace again. And I thought, this is awesome. And so anyway, I think it's a lesson to just go back to open and honest communication, whether you're at home in a conversation with your mother-in-law or whatever. And it's like, whoa, this is getting uncomfortable for me. So I need to pivot or redirect or pause and come back to it. So anyway, thank you for sharing that, Justin. That was good validation.
Amber, can I say something about that really quick?
Yeah.
This has come up in our group for the dads group. And I think this has been something I failed at and also have won at. And I've been on both sides of this, which is when you want to talk with your spouse. So this goes for men and women, right? You want to have an honest conversation. You want to say what you just said, right? Like, be vulnerable. And there have been times when I've gone to Tatiana and said, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed at work. If I happen to be a little snappy, it's because these things are happening. And I've presented it in a way that's been very calm and a request for a little forgiveness. And she really appreciates that. And she does the same thing for me too. Hey, by the way, it's, whatever. It's going to be my cycle coming up. And I just need you to know that the different version of Tatiana might show up. So fair warning. Those are very powerful moments. What I also think on the flip side of that isn't good is when you dump on your partner, where you're not being honest with your masterminds or your groups or your people that you've created to lean on and support you. And you think that you need to put on this air of perfection to your team and you need to be all things to all people. And then when you finally take that deep breath and you go downstairs and you just dump it on your spouse or your kids or whatever it might be, that's the danger. Right. And I think that, I've had those moments where I failed, where I came to Tatiana and I was like, she could feel the fear of the panic, and she started panicking. Like, she didn't read the calming message that you sent out of like, hey guys, thanks for the communication, but a little much. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Let's limit it with a strategy that feels like, all right, that I can do that. That works. Thank you for being honest with me. I've gone and turned my wife into my therapist, and I should have gone to my therapist and then treated my wife like my wife. Don't
you think it takes a measure of emotional intelligence to do that, or like really knowing who you are? Like, how would you describe that to a 6-year-old? I mean, I'm wondering, does everybody out there have that ability to just know how they feel and be able to calmly have that conversation with their spouse? Or do you think that there's something more that they need to know to get to that point?
Hey, Amber, I'm going to hop in there because you said something in your explanation there that I think is a really key word.
Yeah.
Pause. You said I took a pause. And that's where I found when I don't take a pause, to John's point, when he just barges right off of, some call and goes straight into interact with his family, that's where I found myself getting in the most trouble, and where I don't I react instead of actually intentionally act. There's a quote, I think it's credited to Viktor Frankl, but between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies your opportunity for growth. There's something to that aspect. And I think the bigger you can make that space, one thing that's missing for all of us right now, that space has got really skinny. My commute from work to home is down those stairs. And so I think the more you can intentionally create some space where you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to meditate, check out, turn things off, put the cell phone up, whatever that may be for you individually, create that space. I've got clients that literally, they will not come in their garage. They'll literally park a block away, decompress from work. And then as soon as they show up, they're home and they're present. So whatever that is for you, however you create that model for you, I think is going to be even more important today because there is such a lack of space between work and home life right now.
Yeah, I want to get into self-care for a minute because, you know, you're all working and your dads and your, you know, husbands and sons and all the things. Like, my time for self-care has shifted and I'm still trying to find the new routine. What are you specifically doing to take care of yourselves right now? You, not everybody else, you.
I'll go.
Yeah, go, Brad. Go. I like it when you talk.
So I've gone through periods in my life where I'm more regimented than others. You know, Mike referenced the Miracle Morning. Our mutual friend Hal Elrod's obviously got a great system for a morning routine there. I think what I've really gone back to, and part of it is the health aspect that we're all experiencing right now, is really doubling down on my own personal health and then trying to bring my kids and the rest of my family along with that. So I'm kind of a obsessive compulsive over certain things. So I think I have 4 sweat challenges going right now with 4 different groups of people. I've got clients, I've got friends, I've got family. Justin's one of them. Whoever wants to hop in, come on in. But it's just what I found is, number one, it holds me accountable to, it's really easy, I think, to veg out when you're at home and don't have access to the gym. And so last night I hopped on the Peloton at 9 p.m. because I knew I had a group accountability and I needed to check in. So I think the more of those systems and models you can create, but I guess if I just pick one thing right now, it's been my own personal health, because I find if I take care of that, kind of the rest follows.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to jump in on this because I do think it's so important that you take care of yourself, but I think there's an element that we also need to consider with our spouse because so my wife, Jennifer, she's generally really good about letting me know when she needs to work out, but sometimes she's not, or sometimes she gets caught in a trap of just being a mom, and I need to create room and space for her to be able to do it. And then sometimes there are days where she needs more than just the workout. So I need to make sure that she can get out and go for a walk, just get away and have no responsibilities and just let her mind wander, talk to her parents, journal, whatever she needs to do. Because even though I'm, you know, quote unquote working, like I still have somewhat of that space and she doesn't, based on the way that we're doing it. So I want to be able to do a little give and take. But, you know, for me, if I'm not filling myself up, I'm not going to show up best for my family. So I'm often going to do my routines around whatever's best for the family. But I am also an early riser. So sometimes I'll just get up and I'll get my workout in first thing before anyone wakes up. So it's not like I'm missing any time. But
how early?
So I generally wake up about 5:15, somewhere in there. If I sleep in, it might be 5:30 or 5:45. I just wake up whenever my body wakes up.
Yeah.
I'm using an alarm clock.
I'm more of a 4:30 a.m. guy. You're kind of a slacker.
I'm slacking. Yeah, so sometimes I'll knock it out then, but sometimes that's like the peace and quiet time. So I'll read, I'll journal, I'll do a bunch of things, and then I'll hang out with the family, and then maybe I'll squeeze my workout in right before I, you know, do any of my other meetings that I have. And so right now it's really kind of flexible, and it's also flexible in the way that I need to make sure that I'm supporting my wife, because to me, like, our family does not function right if we're both not getting the self-care that we need. And so I need to make sure that I'm leading in there. And if that means I don't get a workout, then that's also fine. I need to make sure that I can show up and give that to her.
I can share a thought on this one too, by the way. And I want to take this from the angle of like, when things are clipping along well for me, what does it look like? And then I want to get real with you guys about what it looks like when it's not, right? Yeah. So here's what's interesting. When I entered, and for the record, Justin's far more disciplined and consistent than I am. I just want to tell you that from the get-go. But here's the thing. So when this whole crisis hit, or pandemic, right? Everything started shifting. I went into this mode of like, I need to dig my heels in, serve the dads. I started working longer hours. I was waking up on my own at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Bright. I mean, I was wide-eyed, like time to roll. I'd go downstairs, and it was so early in the morning that I would literally turn on a movie, and I would sit with my computer, and I'd have headphones, and I'm watching a movie, and I'm working, and like my adrenaline's pumping, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, you know. And then I'm eating cereal in the morning, and I'm not fasting. I'm eating cereal, and I'm drinking coffee, and I'm like watching a fighting movie, and emailing people, and designing and creating. And then it's like, you know, I'm working on calls and I'm doing stuff, and yeah, I'll go for a hike with the family. That was true. I'm not, you know, making that up. Like, we would do that, but I wasn't getting a workout in for myself. I wasn't going for like the hard run or the bike ride or I wasn't going to the sauna and so it was shifting for me. Right. And every night we were watching a movie. Like Mike, we would have the kids working all day, like trying to earn a movie at night. And we tried all sorts of things, like watch a documentary and do this. And you know, next thing you know, we're all watching Onward or something like that. And we're all eating, like we're eating more than we've ever eaten. Like I was the slimmest I was before this Corona thing. And I have definitely added on a little, like Tatiana's touched my belly a few times, right? So, you know, and I'm eating more, I'm snacking more, we're making popcorn, we're doing all this stuff. And then I start to like feel it. I feel my pants getting tighter. I feel it in my body. I feel like, and then this morning I say to Tatiana, I got to change this. Right? Went from 1 cup of coffee to 2 cups of coffee because it's Corona time and I gotta deliver. I've got to step it up. Right. And I wasn't sleeping as well. And honestly, it was falling off. Everything was falling apart. And I hid behind I've got to serve. I hid behind, this is a unique time. It's not going to be this way forever. I'm just going to do it for a moment. And I was hiding there. I was finding comfort there. And I was, and ultimately I did find momentary comfort there. It was cool. It's fun to throw in the movie and eat junk food for a moment. But boy, that did not last before recently. So we went for a hard run today. You know, we've dialed back the coffee. We dialed back the TV. We took away the iPads from the kids. We told them they flew away. There are no more iPads in the house, right? Like, so we got it back. But I just want to be honest with how off the rails that we were able to go before we caught it and got back on track.
This is why you are such a brilliant leader, because you are willing to share all of your experiences, and man, powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Mike, what's going on? I want to share a couple of things that have shifted for me as well. My routine before is different than it is today, but Mike, you've been a little quiet. We got to get you back in the mix here. What's going on? What's your routine like?
Taking it all in. You know, it's interesting because the well-being course that I'm doing with Yale, it really boils down to them having you work on daily practices. So it ends up like they just teach you everything Hal wrote, 10 years ago. And it's just the same types of things, but they added some twists to it. And one of them was your strengths, identifying what your key strengths are. So there's an assessment called VIA, that will tell you your strengths. And so I identified my top 4, and then there's a list of things that you can do that will help you to utilize your strengths, because one of the best things for your well-being is to actually feel like you're using your strengths and you're making a difference with them. You're bringing your gifts to the world, so to speak. So, I got that out and kind of looked through the list and came up with a few things that I've just been doing differently. And so one of my strengths is leadership. And so I'm just reaching out more to people. It said, as a habit, try to find people that you can help. And so I know you said to share what we're doing kind of for our own well-being, but one of my strengths being leadership, it was really making a list of everybody that is either someone that we've done business with, or that's a customer or a client, or that even watched my kids at any point, and just reaching out to as many people as I can to see how they're doing. And I'm not doing like all of them at once. I just made a list, and every day I go to the list and just send a text to a few people like, hey, how you doing? Are you holding up? Do you have what you need, kind of thing. So that's been cool. And, really, I think we have space to practice right now. And I think what the course is revealing is that they have a thing called the G.I. Joe fallacy. And if you remember, it was that knowing was half the battle, was G.I. Joe's statement. And it's actually a fallacy, because it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters how much you've practiced what you know. And so it's really just trying to figure out, what are the things I want to practice right now so I can get better. And so I'm trying to be better at writing notes to my kids. I'm trying to be better at resolving conflict with compassion and having people express their thoughts, instead of just coming in and being like, I'm going to take your iPads away if you don't shut up. Just finding better ways to practice who I want to be. And my go-to practice always is and always will be to meditate every single day. And I'm trying to go deeper and deeper and deeper with my meditation. And I'm actually using a tool called the Inner Balance Trainer, which is from Heart Math. And it's a little thing you connect to your ear. And while you're meditating, it'll tell you if you're relaxed and in a coherent state or not. And so I've been actually trying to really deepen my spiritual practices, because I think, if anything else, I look at it this way: as the whole world has been upgraded. It's like the world is a brand new MacBook Pro, and I'm trying to use my own personal operating system, which is like Windows 95, right? And so how do we upgrade our habits, our thoughts, our beliefs, who we are as a person, our software, like our operating system, so that we can function in today's world, because it's so much different. And I think what the world is calling for right now is to be better friends, better neighbors, and to also upgrade our software so we can default to that. Because I don't always naturally, like Johnny said, like we could go over the list of all the times that I haven't been such a spiritual person. And so I'm trying to not just be spiritual in the 10 minutes that I meditate every day. I'm trying to be spiritual as I live my life. So I'm getting a lot of time to just practice compassion, love, kindness, and for myself and for my family. And then I'm trying to reflect that out into the world as much as I can right now. And I think that's what's keeping me sane, because I look at it this way: is, some things are never going to go back to the way they were. Some things are going to change, and they're going to stay that way. And I need to make sure that they're all good things, because there's things that could change right now that would be bad habits. I could pick up a lot of bad habits right now, and maybe they would never change, and I would have those bad habits forever. But if I get a good habit dialed right now and really commit to it, then I think I'll stick with it as I move through this. So really just doubling down on your practices. What are they, and how can you increase your capacities, whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, anything. So that's what I'm trying to do daily. And really, my way, like Johnny, is I got to be accountable. I think Brad said too, he's in all these different sweat challenges. And, I think I've got to find the tribe around me that keeps me focused on increasing those capacities. And that also mirrors back capacities that I don't have. So getting around people that can be, mentors and people to look up to, and then reaching down to and throwing the rope down and helping the next guy or gal to climb up to whatever capacity, we get to. And I think if we all do that together, then now becomes a special time when we change the world for the better forever. And I'm excited about that. It's pretty sweet time to be doing that.
It's amazing how fast it all happened, right? Like, I'm still just readjusting to this new frequency of time. It's like an hour goes by and it feels like 6 hours. It's like, it's just so different now. And every day I think I'm going to just magically snap into it and upgrade my operating system and just get it. And it's weird. Really powerful stuff. Some of the things that I'm doing, and then I'm going to open it up to anything that you guys want to say that's in your heart and your mind to share to help people mentally, professionally, and their families during this time. But some of the shifts that I've noticed, number one is I'm getting a lot more sleep now. Pre-corona, I was sleeping on average maybe 7 hours a night, and I was just driving all day, pumping. And I like that. I like being busy. I like being productive. I like knowing that I'm using my maximum potential every single day. But what I've noticed now is that I'm, instead of 7 hours of sleep a night, I'm sleeping 8, sometimes 9 hours. And bonus, I'm taking a power nap most days. It's like somewhere there for a while, around noon every day, I would stop whatever I was doing at work and I'd go downstairs and I would try to fall asleep even for 20, 30 minutes. And if I wasn't sleeping, I was listening to this beautiful sound on the Calm app and closing my eyes in a dark room and just letting my body rest, because I at least have the awareness that I'm processing way more than I'm realizing that I'm processing. And if I don't take care of my body, I would get sick, right? So I am really just trying to rest more, taking more vitamins, that sort of thing. Whereas before it was like, yeah, I'm taking my vitamins here and there. It's like now I'm actually taking them and I'm taking it more seriously. And I feel different. I feel stronger and more vibrant, more clarity of focus, which feels really good. I'm going outside every single day. I'm in the sun and I'm just getting sun. And it's like amazing, because otherwise I would have been working until the last minute and then doing the family thing. And now it's like, I'll just take a break at 11 o'clock and go outside and just sit in the sun for 10 minutes and play with clay and look at the flowers. And I'll go back inside and work. And I feel calm. And, you know, in some ways that's a different feeling for me. Not good or bad. It's just different. So those are some of the things. The last couple of things that came to mind is, number one, music has meant more to me now. And music always meant a ton to me. So this is a statement. But I've noticed that I'll just sit down and listen to piano music. And it just has a different feeling in me now. It calms me. It just takes care of me in a different kind of a way. Other times I put on the headphones and it's like crazy loud, intense rock music. And sometimes that's really good for me. So allowing music to be an outlet for me has been important. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you is when I am with Clay and we're homeschooling, it's like, this was Jason's idea. He gets the credit for it. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe my phone will eventually adjust, but it's the letter B, a big, like an uppercase and a lower. There it is. Anyway, every day we get a piece of construction paper, and it's like the letter of the day. And then we go through this big stack of family photos from the past 3 years, and we pull out every photo that starts with the letter B, like baby, or what else is in here? Birthday, Buzz Lightyear, right? Balloon. And so I'll cut out like the pictures, he'll pick the pictures, then I'll cut them out. We put them on the construction paper. And then we have this big stack of stickers. And it's like, what are all the stickers that start with the letter B? And so then we're putting on bunnies and bells and all kinds of stuff. And then we're like writing out the words for, you know, all the B words we can think of, backpack and everything else. And what's strange is, because it's a creative exercise, it's really like, it's relaxing to me. Whereas if I were sitting down and having to do like math or something, I would hate that. But anyway, the point is, something that's coloring or creative, I'm actually finding that to be the best use of time with Clay, where I can teach him things without feeling like stressed out or rigid about it. So anyway, those are some of the differences that have happened for me. Hopefully that works for you. I would love to know in the comments what advice you've heard from each of us that have really moved the needle for you. And now I want to open it up the last few minutes. Anything that you want to talk about in any area, what do you feel called to share as parting wisdom to those listening?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity right now to reinvent yourself. You have a clean slate. You can start over. You can create new rhythms. I mean, it's whatever you want. All the stuff that you've said, this is what I want to do. You know, for me, for the longest time, I've said, I want to start journaling. Well, now I'm consistently journaling every single day. And it was so much easier to kind of create this rhythm. And then it's also cool because I want to reflect on this rhythm so I can capture all these cool moments, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now, like, you know, this crazy pandemic. Now I have, you know, documented life going through it. So I think that's cool. And then I also think just keeping humor. Humor's so good. It's such a good stress reliever. It's just food for the soul. And so I think being around people or connecting with people that make you smile, that make you laugh, you know, being the person that tries to evoke some laughs in other people. Those of you that are close to me, you know, I got some fun things that I send out periodically, just, you know, keeping you on your toes, keeping you laughing. So I think it's important.
That's awesome.
John, if you're going to go next, or I know Brad said he wants to, but whenever you go, John, I really want you to also talk more about Front Row Dad. So I'll share.
Let me go last. I love having the final word.
Yeah,
and if not, I'll just take the final word.
We'll let you be the closer. I think it kind of, to echo a little bit of what Mike said and then what Justin hopped on there, this situation that we all find ourselves in, to your point, Amber, essentially overnight, the world changed. It's the great equalizer. Doesn't matter how much money you have. We're all in the same situation. And it's really, I think, brought to the forefront the stuff that really matters. And I read something the other day. This is the first time in human history where collectively we're all focused on one thing ever. And so if you think about that, I think showing up for the people that matter, it's easy to do that when everything is going great. You know, stock market in our industry, stock market's on an 11-year bull run. Hey, every financial advisor is awesome. But what happens now? That's when the real financial advisors show up, when all this volatility and chaos, and that creates opportunity. And I think whether that's in personal relationships right now, how you show up for the people that really matter during this tough time. Are you connecting? Are you reaching out? Are you proactively checking in? And the crazy thing is the same thing that happens on the personal side that works there, works on the business front. And I've seen it work over and over. These people that literally would not pick up the phone, and you literally say, Justin, Mike, John, Amber, hey, craziness out there. I would just thought of you this morning. I just want to check in. How you doing? You hanging in there? That works collectively with all human beings right now. And there's very few times where everybody's been quarantined with they actually time to focus on you and human connection. And so that would just be my parting thought is, how can you show up for people in a time of need? Just like you're doing with this right now. You're like, hey, I've just been having these conversations and live streaming them to whoever they can help. That's a perfect example. You're not charging people to get on this. You're like, hey, I find this valuable. I'm just going to share it with the world. And the more we can do that, the more you're going to come out of this thing on the back end with those rhythms, those collections, and your business will actually flourish during times like this, as opposed to, you know, the scarcity mentality that I think some people tend to go to in moments like this. So those are just my parting thoughts. And I've seen it work over and over on our side.
Mike, what you got?
You know, I would just say, look in your life and see what's wanting to be born. And I think it's easy to think about the things that we're losing out on, whether it's business or trips or life. And so we could get stuck on the loss or the you know, what's dying and not there anymore. But the beautiful part about death is that new things are reborn. And so where there is loss, we need to look for the things in our life that want to emerge and be reborn. So I would just ask everybody to dig deep and think about who they want to be as a human being, and to collectively help each other to be that person, because none of us are perfect. And we've all slipped. So this is the time for compassion, for forgiveness, for making right the things that once were wrong, whether that's inside of yourself or with your relationships. But I think it's really important right now to become who we want to become, because otherwise all of this time at home is just for nothing. So leverage it and use it.
Absolutely. John,
all right, here we go. Now,
friend.
First of all, thanks to you, Amber, and to these amazing guys for just sharing wisdom. I've been throwing some of these nuggets in the chat box. Just, you know, what's wanting to be born. I love it when Mike talks. Like, seriously, I was at a dinner one time at his house with a couple of people, and he stood up to He proposed, which was beautiful. And you should do this, by the way, with your family at dinners, is to talk about what you love about each other. But it was these couples that were around. They said, hey, stand up and talk about what you love about your spouse. And then Mike led it off, and we were all like in awe of what he said. We're like, we have to follow that. Like it's amazing. So
You
Mike
guys asked me to lead off, by the way. I didn't lead.
Mike loves to lead. He loves to go first. I love to go last. But no, here's the thing I would want to say, Amber. Just my final thought would be, and very much an endorsement for what's already been said brilliantly by these guys, which is, and my friend Braden Delaney said, community is our greatest survival tool. And I think in these times, where do people go? They go home, they go back to the core. This is a time to reevaluate, like, what's really important, who's really important, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I'm reminding myself that community is always the greatest survival tool, and that I want to be prepared, and I want to be productive. I just don't want to be paranoid, right? I think there's a careful balance in there as you move forward. And I think as parents, what we should be thinking about is something that I'll credit to Akira Chan, who's a filmmaker who worked on Little Humans with Vision and Mind Valley, and worked on House Film. And he came into our dad's group and ran a private call with us. And he said that one thing he took away from his docuseries that he made was, when you interact with your kids, what do they conclude from that? Right? Just think about that. You have a dinner and your kids are getting out of line, and you raise your voice and you're like, hey, what did they just conclude? That if you want power and you want to control a situation, you raise your voice. That's what they concluded. That's an agreement they made. That's a belief they now have in their life, right? And what do our kids conclude from this Corona situation, from this COVID situation? What are their conclusions going to be? What are they seeing at home? What, maybe more importantly, what are they feeling at home? And that doesn't mean that you need to be a perfect parent. And in fact, far from it. Because in fact, if you raise a child in a sterile environment where it looks perfect, they're going to get out into the world and go, holy shit, there's problems. I never even saw my parents fight. I didn't know people fight. I didn't know people had bad emotions. I didn't know people melted down, and they're not going to be prepared for the world. So be the full human experience during this time. But be a conscious person in that human experience. Don't allow that to be a reason to be lazy, right? Don't let that be the excuse to be like, well, kids are going to be messed up anyway, so I can just do whatever the hell I want. Like, does that make sense?
I'm loving this.
The chat box must be going off. You see you guys laughing and smiling.
No, it's so
I have no energy around this. I have no passion.
This is why you're good at leading a dad's group, because of the passion.
Yeah, I'm fired up about this. And hey, one last quick thing is that, to Mike's point, right? And I think this was brought up in loving on people. We've been doing something in our home, and props to Berghoff and his exchange community and what they do with their praise cards, and props to my buddy Larry Hagner with the Dad's Edge group, because he does a version of this. But every week I print a picture, and right now I'm around my kids so much, I'm around my family. There's a picture of Tiger fishing. I print a picture on my printer, it's $150 Canon printer, 4x6 pictures. And every week I hand him a picture and I write a note on the back. So this is what I'm going to go downstairs and read to Tiger in just a moment. It says, Tiger, watching you fish this week has been so much fun. When you find something you're excited about, you go all in. You demonstrate qualities of persistence and perseverance and curiosity. You'll try new spots until you catch something. You also have a great respect and care for the fish, quickly putting them back in the water. I love you forever, your papa. And I do this picture every single week. They're hung all over our living room on the walls. And I started doing them for the boys, right? There's one of Ocean jumping on the planks and my note to him. And then look, I started doing one for Tatiana. And that was her costume for the costume party for the Front Row family call, right? So I write a note to Tatiana and I hand them out. And here's the thing, like, talk about what an opportunity to call out the best of your family. Because in this close proximity, it's easy to tell people what they're doing wrong. You're stepping on my toes. You're doing this wrong. You're annoying me here. You're stop, right? Stop. And everybody just gets the feeling everybody's wrong. Well, we need to make sure that we bring that positivity back to say, what are people doing that's right? Right? In this new time of being together, like, catch your family doing the right thing, catch your business associates. I started mailing these pictures to people in my life just randomly. I started sending more pictures to my mom, right? Just writing notes on the back. This is when your grandson did this. This is when your other grandson did this. And I started sending more pictures around. So do that, because it's easy to do. And it's also easy not to do, but just once a week, 10 minutes, hand them out, get it done. Come on.
I needed that. Thank you. That was really helpful. What did we do right? I got it on the Post-it. I'm going to put it on the refrigerator. That's helpful. Guys, I know we ran over. I'm grateful. Thank you for your patience, especially the viewers. Front Row Dads, you know, I don't use this as a platform to promote, but I know who John Vroman is, and I know the caliber of the people in that community, and I believe in it 10 million %. So if you are a dad, I recommend Front Row Dads. Go to his website, check it out. You can get a 5 Habits of Front Row Dads opt-in there. Guys, I want to thank you for your time. Mike, Brad, Justin, John, thank you guys. Definitely go check them out on social media, follow them, sign up for podcasts. And you know what? In the vein of what John just said, and I'll end with this, I challenge you to go to their social media or write them a note and tell them what they did right on this panel today. What did Brad do right? What did Mike do right? What did Justin do right? What did John do right? What did I do right? Because that feedback is very valuable, and it also helps us to keep going and leading in the right ways. So I want to thank everybody for this panel, and continue to come back to the NGNG Facebook page, because I am stopping this panel this series no time soon, and there's a lot more greatness to come. So we will see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you, Amber.
Yeah, mainly you, Amber. The other guys are questionable, but
Yeah.